Hello, everybody. Welcome to Foundations in Multicultural Education. My name is Brittany Aronson, and I'm going to be the instructor of this course over the summer semester. I wanted to create this webcast here to begin to talk a little bit about the course, the syllabus, as well as the online support tools that I will be using. So first of all, I am going to be using Canvas, which is our new interface, this course instead of Nika. So I wanted to show you when you log into My Miami, your screen's obviously going to look different than mine, but you should have your courses here, and you can see how there's options. Well, it should say an option for Canvas and or Nika, but I'll be using Canvas. So when you log in and you see the course Foundations of Multicultural Ed that you're registered for, you'll want to click on the Canvas course site, and this should bring you to what will be our new Nika site. So I'd like for everyone to please try and make sure that you're able to have access to that. So when you see your course, it should come up with different courses. You might have other professors using Nika still. So this is new, and this is what we'll be moving to in the fall. But that's what I wanted to let you know, that I will be using this. So when you come over here, you could see I put up an announcement, which is just I put an overview of the course up here. So any announcements that I have, you can click on, and you can see, like I have the course description here. You can see that up there, as well as the other information that you'll be needing for the course. So I'm going to come back to that. Oh, my cat is here and saying hello. Okay, so I'm going to come back to this site, and I'm going to move over to the syllabus, and then I'll work myself back and forth as we go. So another important tool that I'll be using throughout the course of the semester here is our Google Drive folder. So I've added you all to this folder, EDL 621. If I have lectures and things, I might just upload them to here, and I'll let you know as I communicate with you through email what I'm doing. But right now there are two important documents that you're going to need, and of course the first one is the syllabus, which outlines the assignments and expectations of the course, and then the second is the schedule. And I've kept them as two separate documents so they're easy to access, and we'll more than likely be using the schedule a lot. But first I'm going to turn to the syllabus. So the syllabus itself here, in the beginning I have all of my contact information. Up top you have my office and cell number. Just please note that obviously I'm not in the office for the summer, so my cell is going to be the best way. I don't always answer numbers that I don't know, so if I don't answer you right away, I will call you back if there's a need to get a hold of you. We can also set up office hours appointments. We can use either Google Hangout, and the reason we all have Google Hangout, so Google Hangout allows for multiple people to go in at the same time, which is why I'm using that. But then I also have Skype, and my username is up there as well. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the course. This course is designed to be a foundational type of course introducing you to basic concepts of multicultural education. I specifically have chosen to put a critical lens on this course, so we're going to be talking about critical multiculturalism, social justice issues in schools, and critical race theory. We're going to begin that in the very beginning as we move forward in the course. So what's important to think about is that the overall orientation of this course is toward understanding multicultural education as social justice, and it's an ongoing process where we as educators have the power to affect and implement relevant positive change. So that is a big goal that I have in this course. But with that in mind, it's important to understand this is not a course on instructional methods or curriculum development. So that's not the purpose of this course. It's designed for those interested in better understanding the processes that make schools the way that they are, so that we can have those tools so we can go to think about how we might develop curriculum and make changes in schools. I will be teaching a course that's a lot more about the practical aspects of things during the J term, if people are interested in taking that, as well as I know that there's a few course offerings coming up in EDT as well that talk more about the practical. But please keep that in mind as we're going through this course, that that's not its purpose. So, our goals are to think about sociocultural theories and perspectives. Specifically, I'll be focusing on critical multiculturalism and critical race theory. Those are the guiding frameworks that I use as I create courses. So that's, of course, it is coming from my position, my positionality, that you will see coming about in the creation of this course, as well as it's going to be what I'm going to ask you to do as we go through this course. But we'll be looking at issues of race, class, gender, sexual orientation, religion, not as much ableism as I would have liked, but it does come up in some of our readings, and then ethnicity, nationality, and I really should add language there as well. The purpose, though, of this course, the overarching goal that I have for you to get out of this is to develop an awareness of yourself. how each of us in our different positions are embedded in this society that is already created and functions. So it's really about self-analysis in this course. And the final product is this positionality piece where you really dissect your own identity. And then, of course, I believe a big part of understanding social justice issues is to develop this ability to empathize. So really, when you're thinking about the different things we're reading, you're really trying to put yourself in other people's shoes and think about these different perspectives. So there are some assumptions that, as we work through this course, that you need to keep in mind. I do believe education is social. So kind of thinking about like a John Dewey approach of learning by doing and discovering, that is an important part of the course. Now, with an online course, that makes it a little more challenging. So that is the reason I am going to be incorporating these Google Chat meetings once a week to add that little bit more of the dialogue there. So we will have different modes of communication. You'll have your communication one-on-one between me and you. You'll have communication between you and your classmates that will rotate weekly in your discussion boards. And then you'll also have your face-to-face, if you will, I'm using air quotes here, discussion that you're going to have in your Google Hangout meetings. So, in order for this to effectively work, though, you really have to think about how you're actively participating and how you're really thinking about those moments of discomfort that you might have. And that will make more sense to you after our first week's reading of Willingness to be Disturbed. So I encourage you to reflect upon these as you go through all of these readings. And ultimately, the third assumption here is that you determine your own truth, and we might have this critical dialogue, but ultimately you are the person in charge of your positionality, and that's just what I'm asking you to really think about. So in our classroom climate, our online climate here, so a lot of times when we have discussion, we have other factors such as body language or tone of voice or things like that that help give indication as to how people are receiving our words. We don't necessarily have that when we're doing our online dialogues. So I just ask you to be very intentional and cautious as you are writing, and also I encourage you that if you don't understand what someone's saying, or perhaps you've perceived their words differently than their intentions, or that's the point of the dialogue, to ask for that clarification. So that this does make it a little bit of a different space when we're thinking about this online. But as professional educators, I mean, we should be able to have conversations. We should be able to agree. We should be able to disagree, and we should be able to express this without fear of consequences here. I mean, I'm definitely more than likely going to disagree with things people say and this and that, and I will express that because that is my job too as the educator. So it's okay though if you don't agree with me either, and if you ever feel at some point that I am you don't feel that you're able to express your views around me, I just encourage you to make an appointment with me. We can talk on the phone, but please don't let that be something that you hold in as we're going through these conversations. So I'm open to that communication, and I think it's important. So in class discussions too, we sometimes have an issue of people dominating conversations. I find what's nice about the online space is it will give us a little bit more room for people to speak and speak up, since you're coming about that at your own time. So that is a nice pro of online. Okay. There's some other important information in the syllabus here. If there's any type of accommodation that I need to be aware of, please let me know as soon as possible. I haven't received anything from anyone, but please let me know. There's also some dates here should you decide that you need to drop the course, so please keep that in mind. So as you also should have received it by email, we are using this text, Is Everyone Really Equal? I think it's a really nice foundational text that will work through all of our readings throughout the course of the semester. We will be reading through the entire text, so please keep that in mind, and I will be using the discussion questions in here as well. So please get a copy of that. They are at the Miami Bookstore, but you can also get a copy of this through Amazon or Barnes & Noble online. The rest of the readings are all going to be uploaded to the Canvas website, and I'll show you that. So over here, back on the website, if you come here down to Files, I have it already broken up by each class period. There are 2 classes per week. So for each class period, you are going to have a set of readings. So for class 1, for June 18th, here are your 3 sets of readings. Now you'll want to look on, and I'll go back to the schedule for what chapters you're assigned to the text versus what readings you have. Okay, so that's all up there. Okay, let's talk about the expectations in the course assignments. There are 3 overarching things that you're really going to be expected to do. The first one, which is the bulk of your points, is your preparation, like how prepared you seem to be for the course, which is going to be mostly keeping up with your readings and those online conversations. There's the individual reflection papers that will be emailed to me weekly or uploaded weekly, and then your final paper. So let's go through one at a time. Okay, so we only have 8 sessions, really, and only 7 of them are actually requiring you to turn something in. So this attendance is your active participation in the course. This is a summer course. So if this is your first time taking a summer course, you might be a bit shocked about the workload. So I encourage you now to really take a look at the schedule and make sure you're able to make that commitment, because it's just, there's no other way to go about going through a course that's typically designed to be 15 weeks condensed into like 4 to 5 without there being the rigor and pace. So please make sure that you are prepared for the intensity of this course. So with that being said, your participation grade is really about your contribution to the online discussion space. So, and as I've said this before, like given your words will be typed, you may have to clarify ideas if your message is not perceived as intended. So you're going to want to make sure that, especially from Tuesday to Thursday when all the postings are due, you're going to want to make sure that you're checking in on Canvas and you're checking on the discussion board and making sure that you are answering people's questions and you are engaging in that online space. So, and of course, as you are reading, as I say here, learning is best when everyone feels comfortable in sharing your ideas, but don't let that discomfort prevent you from challenging yourself to speak. And when I say speak, I might mean it either be through your words, it might be through your words in the discussion board, it might be through your words in your reflections to me, it might be in the Google Hangouts that you have with your other classmates. So if we all listen as we're reading to be influenced, you're going to show respect by making room for views that differ from our own. So there are 2 ways that we're going to go about this. The online discussion boards. So we have 8 class sessions, and each session is focused on a different topic, supported by multicultural education. And throughout the week, you're going to be assigned group members. So basically, you're going to be with those group members for 2 sessions. You'll have several readings to complete and 1 to 3 documentaries to watch. Just note that in the beginning, I think it's class 3, you have it's about 4 hours of documentary. So make sure that you are setting aside the time to watch these. The documentaries are so important because they're providing a lot of the additional discourse and some of the more modern connections to the readings that we aren't necessarily going to have through an online space. So they're really important to really mold all the readings and the themes and the topics together. During this time, I will break you up into groups each week. So you'll have different group members each week, and each week I will assign there to be a leader. So let me show you this again. Okay, so back to the Canvas website. If you come to the side here, we have discussions. Now, occasionally I might have a class discussion, like I have this, so I have the welcome discussion posted up here. That's for the entire class. This is asking you to write an introductory paragraph about yourself, or you can upload a video telling us about you. You can use iMovie, you can use what I'm using QuickTime Player. If you want to talk and tell us a little bit about yourself, you can do that too. Be as creative as you like, just let us get to know you. So that's a class discussion. But what your weekly discussions will look like are going to be like this. So what is multicultural education? It's going to be the name of whatever the topic of the class is. I haven't finished writing this question yet, but I just wanted to put something up here for us to begin to have this conversation. But it's asking you to assess your prior knowledge, discuss what multicultural education has historically meant to you, how have the readings influenced this perspective, what things have changed, what stayed the same. So I have access to all 4 groups right now here because I am the person reading them all. But let's say if you were in group 1, all you would see up there is group 1. And once you open up your group 1 page, what you have here is your question, and you can reply to the question here. So each person is going to initially put their answer to these questions. I haven't set a word limit or anything yet. But by the end of the first due date, there should be four posts, because there's 4 people per group up here. Then what you'll do is you'll have 24 hours to respond to the post to each other, and you'll have this conversation within those next 24 hours. What this shows you, so like this is group 1, you can hit people. This shows you the people in your group. So I'm going to be the teacher, obviously, and then here and your group members are here. You can actually write announcements to each other. You can share files with each other. And I don't really know what conferences are. I think that collaborations might allow you to share Google Docs with each other. Yeah, this is like you can share your Google Docs with, you can do all kinds of stuff. It's pretty cool. But the one thing I want you to pay attention to is this Pages app, because you will be coming back to this page, and this is where you're going to share, you're going to report out for the week with me, and you're going to write your information in this page, sharing stuff with me. So keep that in mind. This is where that is, and you have this video that you can refer back to. But as you go, your assigned group, you can do all kinds of stuff, and I'm sure you all will discover new things you can do that I don't even know. But this is going to be where you find that information. Okay, so back to the syllabus. So I have up here when all your discussions are due. So this is your first initial post that should be up there. Within your post, you'll be graded on how thoroughly you're answering the question, as well as the connections you're making back to the readings. So as I say, in everything we're doing, I should be able to see the connections we made back to the readings. In an in-person class session, I'm able to navigate the classes and talk to you and overhear your conversations. I can't do that. So you have to explicitly in some way show me how you have done the readings. Within 24 hours of that initial posting, you will respond to your classmates in that group. The idea behind making you, putting you in smaller groups too, is that it allows you to more thoroughly engage in depth in the conversation versus having to read 15 other classmates, because we have 16 people in this class. So this should allow you to be able to get a little more in depth with your classmates. Okay. So that's the first part of your online discussions. The second part are the Thursday Google Hangout meetings. This is the second part of the another 50 points in the grade. Initially, our class was scheduled to be in person between these times. So I've just taken a snapshot of this time to create a synchronous portion of this course. I'm asking everyone to clear their schedules on Thursdays between 3 and 4 p.m. Should you have a conflict or something come up, I'm fine with you changing the time with your group. Let's say one of your group members needs to meet earlier. That's fine. But I'm just asking as a class for us to consider these dates right now, or to come up with some different times if somebody has to be out that time. Within each class, so as you saw those groups for each week that I showed you on Canvas, there's going to be one person that I assign to be a group leader for the week. I'm going to try to make sure that I rotate that so that you're not the leader more than twice in a group. Hopefully that will work out, because the groups are randomly assigned through Canvas, so hopefully that will work out. But the idea behind these Google Hangouts is that you're able to build community with each other and talk, but also to have quote-unquote in-person conversations about the major arguments that the authors have. So this is going to help me to see during this point, like if there are certain struggles that maybe, like we talk about the word hegemony or something, that might be a big word that for the first time some of you have heard or haven't heard. This will help me to know if I need to create a lecture to talk about something to give some more explanation and to clarify. This will also help me to see if we need to go a different direction in our class in terms of the discussion questions I ask. So really, this is going to allow for a space for you to communicate with me. And I gave some suggestions here for taking this from Richard Quantz when he has you do in-class conversations, borrowing this from him. These are some of the questions that you might ask yourself to think about. And you might choose to focus on just a few of the articles you might come across. If you don't get to them all, that's okay, but at least that you're trying to show some representation across a few of them. Talking about the argument, what do you think the author's trying to say? What are the claims there? How does this relate to different things we've read in the course? And then, so before you get to your own opinions and analyzing what it is about yourself that influences the article, I want to make sure that you get these things down first. Make sure you know what the authors are talking about, and if you have some fuzziness on what they're talking about, that should come up in this in your conversation. But maybe you might be able to help each other out here too. Then you can move to this and think about where's the value pieces in this? What are the authors trying to get at, and where does your role, what does it play in this as well? So here are your Google Hangout dates that you're going to have here. There are 4 sessions. So again, you'll create that document, and you'll, at the end of your session, the group leader, I said emails me. I should change this. Post on Pages about their discussion after it's complete. So you're going to post it up on the Canvas website. Under discussions, up here. Hopefully that makes sense over here. And of course, I'll be available for emails as we go through that. I'll be emailing you as we move through. Okay. So that's the online interactive portion of the course in terms of assignments. Now there's going to be an individual component as well. So each week, as you're reading, you're going to be writing reflection papers. So there's going to be 4 papers is what it turns out to be. Again, show me you've read the text. So this should not be summaries of the readings. I've read them all, so I don't need summaries of them. And if you turn me in a summary, it's an automatic 50% deduction of points. So just please keep that in mind. I'm looking for you to make connections. It can be between other classes. It can be between your own life experiences. It can be between the dialogue we've had in class, the readings, any connections you might make. These should be 2 to 3 page papers, and here are some guiding questions that you might ask yourselves. So this might help you. These are due each Friday. So here are the dates here. Now, back to Canvas. Go to assignments. I've already posted the 4 reflections and their due dates. So right up here, and it's also going to post all your discussion boards up here too as I add them. But you would just hit on reflection 1, and then you should be able to upload a file. So it's going to look different for you, but you should be able to attach and upload a file, and then it's automatically linked to grades. So all of those are up here on the dates. I just want them by the end of the day. I don't have a set time for these. Like if they're due on Friday, just turn them in Friday by midnight. Okay. So that's that. Last but not least, so as I mentioned in the beginning, the purpose of this course is for you to really engage in critical reflection of yourself as a teacher, educator, whatever role you have in schools, and to really think about how your positionality, which is a word we'll be talking about, and intersectionality, and we're going to talk about these words, how they relate to your own self-analysis. So I will talk more about this paper as we move through the course, but take a read of this, because as you're reading, it's going to come up quickly. But I want you to really, this is what's important, you're going to challenge yourself to think critically as you unravel your cultural assumptions and reflect on your life and experiences. So you're going to use at least 6 citations from our class readings, and you can organize the paper however you like, however it makes most sense to you. There's no real format to it. It's really just looking at the criticalness of you being able to dissect your identity. This is an 8 to 10 page paper. I'd like it to be in traditional APA format, Times New Roman. For those of you who might be new at coming back to graduate school, OWL Purdue is a great website to help you with APA citations, and certainly you can ask me any questions that you need to. I would like for you to submit this paper up on Nika by Monday, July 13th by 5 p.m. This is the day before what was supposed to be our last class session, and I'm going to talk about that next. So our final class meeting, about 80% of the class appears to be available, and here's what I've decided to do. The way that the course was explained to me when I set it up was it ended July 15th, but it didn't come out like that on Banner and Nika, so I'm gonna accommodate schedules as best as possible. What I would like to do is have an informal class meeting. What I typically do is I have you present your positionality papers and share with the class about your learnings and understandings of the course. So what I've decided to do is that have like a sit down. I figured we could do this about 5. So I have us at the Panera at the VOA at 5 o'clock on Tuesday. Some people I know might be arriving late. Some people might have to leave early. Depending on your schedules, that's totally fine. But I'd like for us to get together in person, have a little bit of community time, share with each other about the course, our reflections, as well as your own positionality. And I figure we could do it at Panera, where we could get coffee and snacks and whatever, and enjoy some time with each other. So I will be buying a big jug of coffee and such for the group, and then whatever other snacks that we want there. So I'll talk more about this beforehand. Plan around 1 to 2 hours and pencil this date in, and then I'll work with your schedules as much as possible here. So that should be our final meeting. Sorry about my cat. Okay. So the other important document that was on Google Drive here is the summer schedule. This is really going to be probably what you refer to the most. I've color-coded this document. So If you have things due to Canvas, they're highlighted. Readings from the textbook are in red. Purple are when your discussion boards are due, and blues are linked to the documentaries. So as you can see, the first week, I kind of took away that first class because you're all going to be meeting with me. You should have signed up for times to Google chat with me one-on-one, and I'll talk to you a little bit about how Google Hangout works then too. So hopefully everyone will be able to use Google Hangout. So you should have these 30-minute meetings with me. I also said the welcome discussion board, so please during this week, if you go back here, discussion board, and I'll add some stuff about myself, and I'm probably going to share my positionality piece with you so that you can read that should you want some really good reading. But yeah, so please just share information. I encourage you to add a picture or something up here too so we can see what you look like if you'd like. You don't have to, but if you want to. So that's going to be that first week, and I'm going to ask that you please complete that, as well as so demographic forms. Those of you who have had me before or have had Dr. Kwanzaa knows what these are, but the assignments, if you just come down here, you'll see demographic forms. You can click on that. You can download the form, and then you can add to it. We'll say preview the document. Canvas is so new to me. Apparently there's supposed to be things that you could do within the document as well and save it. Okay, so you can do that, or you can download it and save it. So this is just basic information that I'm asking you, but importantly, I'd like to know what program you're in, what your identity indicators are that you use, and telling me a little bit about yourself, and also if there's any special circumstances I need to know. That's really important. So I do read these, and they are a really important document that helps me to get to know you. So they're there, and what you'll do, again, it looks different, like I said, for me because I'm the controller of the website, but you'll download the form, fill it out, and then upload your information to that. So please do that by the first day of class, which is technically the 15th. Okay, and then as we move on, here are different topics. Each week we have readings and documentaries usually. So for this first class, we have several readings here, starting from the text as well as talking about what multiculturalism is here. This reading, DeCure and Dixon, helps us, This helps us to understand what critical race theory is. And then this willingness to be disturbed article is just a short piece that I'll be referring to throughout the course of the semester, which is really getting us to think about, as we're reading some of these more sensitive and controversial topics that are perceived as controversial, how you handle your reflections as we go through that. So that first reflection is going to be due that Friday, and it's going to relate to these things here, to this introduction to the course. And then, as you can see, the discussion will be due that day by 6, as well as your responses the next day. So each day, you're going to have to keep in mind especially by Thursday and Friday, you're going to be really, really busy in this course. There is a documentary here, this first one. If you click on it, the link's below. Schooling the World. This one should take you right to the website. Yeah, some of them are connected to websites, some of them are through Miami, and I'll talk about that in a second. But this first documentary is an hour, and it kind of gives some history about multicultural education in the world and kind of where it sprung from. It talks a little bit about the indigenous populations, which is nice because we don't have enough time to do different articles about that. But that should come up here as well. So, making sure it works. There we go. So yeah, as you read through this, I'll have specific questions that connect to the documentaries and specific questions that connect to the readings, but you can use any of them in your analysis when you're answering things. So keep that in mind. I put the times next to the documentaries so that you know how much time you need to allot to watch them. Okay, our second week, we move right into race and whiteness. I like to do this early on as we are working through the course. So this is kind of actually a very intense week. There are 3 hours of documentaries here, but it's really important that you watch these. The Race Power of Illusion really, really talks about the social construction of race, and that is going to be really important to a lot of what we talk about. This is one of the documentaries that is going to connect you to Miami's website, and unless you're sitting on Miami's campus, it may not log in right away. Oh, okay, this one is appearing to work, so that's okay. That's good. So these ones work. So you've got the 3 episodes right here. So break it up, space your time, give yourself some time, if you're cooking dinner or doing whatever it is you're doing, just give yourself time to watch these documentaries. Now, if you look at the readings that I chose for this week, we're specifically talking about racism in schools, but none of the readings address whiteness. That's why this documentary is going to be really important. This is by Tim Wise. He's an anti-racist educator. He's a white male. And it's streaming for free on YouTube now. So again, watch this documentary because I'm going to ask you specific questions about privilege and whiteness. And it's more so coming from this documentary. So that's going to be important. Okay. And I noted that this particular week you have like 4 hours of documentaries, so make sure you give yourself time. That's the most documentaries you'll have in a week. The next topic we're going to move on to is religion and education. And again, there's some really interesting readings here. We have Senso and D'Angelo, which are going to talk about some issues of privilege and oppression. But specifically, we're going to talk about Christian privilege in schools, also what roles teachers play in that. That's this article. And then also just one example of the exclusion of Jews from issues of social thought. I also wanted to include this documentary of Real Bad Arabs here because it kind of talks about how stereotypes portray people, Arabs specifically, but and how that connects to religion. So that intersection, as we begin to talk about intersectionality here, you can look at, can make connections from this documentary to the topic of religion and education. So while the documentary isn't about religion per se, it's going to show where intersectionality plays here. That's when in your second reflection, of course, is going to be do that Friday. We'll then move on to gender norms and sexuality. We have a mixture here of talking about gender norms, so we're going to talk about that through masculinity. And also the Senso and D'Angelo chapter here is going to talk specifically about sexism. So we're going to look about like sexual representation in society. And then we're also going to move into this idea of heteronormativity versus homosexuality in schools. So this is a new article that I just read. It just came out in Race, Ethnicity, and Education, and I thought it was a really cool piece that would allow us to really think about what this looks like in schools. Our documentaries that week are looking at masculinity as well. Speak Up is about LGBTQ students in schools. So we will be, again, doing intersectionality through those pieces. The next week we're going to move on to poverty and class. And we're going to be reading about some of the systemic inequalities that exist in schools. Specifically, this is going to be a really interesting piece that we explore. It's a piece by Paul Gorski, and he's actually critiquing this book about Ruby Payne that's used a lot in schools. Some of you who are classroom teachers might have heard of it. You might have used it in your schools. So we're going to engage in a critique about that and kind of looking at how systemic inequalities reproduce social class issues in schools. This documentary, Secrets of the SAT, it's one of my favorites. It's a bit outdated, so you've got some 1990s awesomeness going on there. But I think it really sets the stage to show how privilege and class really reproduce the status quo. Okay, and then we're going to be moving into this idea of immigration and language. So Patel's chapters talks about immigration in schools and looking at how we police students in schools. Davis, this minorities versus minority groups. This is language in terms of how we label students. And then Christensen, this is a short piece about who's teaching standard English. So we're gonna talk a lot about dialect, language, immigration. Again, all intersectionality. What do these look like in schools? And then for our last class session of readings, really it's looking at how do we piece this all together? How are we going to bring this all together and think about how these areas all intersect and how does that affect your positionality? So these last pieces are really going to engage you as the teacher and or teacher researcher in thinking about how your position influences your role in schools and education, whatever it is that you're doing. So that will be that. This is just a short clip that's not even a documentary. And then that'll be your final reflection. And then you'll see that your last papers are due. So the schedule here, things could change, but that is how it is set up right now. Let's see, we have our syllabus here, the schedule. As far as the assignments go, I think that's pretty much it for now. And if there's anything else, I will email you all. But at least you can begin to get an introduction of the course and to each other. And I look forward to meeting with you all for our sessions next week. I hope you have a great summer break, and I look forward to talking to everyone.